I'm Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization. Find out what. Let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to the What the Heck podcast. My name is Dr. Beauchamp, and I am the host. I'm actually doing our podcast on the road this week. As you may know, the background is a little bit different. I'm actually in the conference center that I'm speaking at this weekend, doing a speech to other chiropractors. So I'm excited to be able to do the podcast while I'm on the road. So today, my guest is Dr. Kristy Lewis, and she is a naturopathic doctor out of Ottawa. And her and I will be talking about stress, burnout, and the importance of adrenals. So welcome on the show, Dr. Kristy.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Good. So it's kind of funny that we're both from Ottawa, but I'm in Washington right now and you're in Ottawa. But that's the beauty of technology. It's awesome. So Kristy, you and I have been in the same community for a bit, but we're pretty new at knowing each other, which is, really excited about the relationship where you and I are going to form, I think. But tell us a little bit more about you. What got you into naturopathic medicine a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm a naturopathic doctor, obviously here in Ottawa, and really, really blessed with a beautiful, abundant practice. And yeah, we treat a lot of the same patients. So it's great. I'm sure patients are going to love that we're actually, together communicating here, often with the same message. But yeah, I came across naturopathic medicine, really because of my own health journey. So I'd always been, really interested in health and wellness. And I did my holistic nutrition course, but I just wanted more. Once I fell in love with holistic medicine or integrative medicine, I really, it was a quest for more. And then I stumbled across naturopathic medicine, quite frankly, because I found myself sitting in an office with a naturopathic doctor. And it just came to me. Yes, absolutely. I was having some struggles with my hormones and some challenges with anxiety. And, as much as the medical community was there to assist me, I really felt like I was coming up sort of short when it came to answers, and especially how to get me feeling better. So I was in that well, but not well category. So I went and saw a naturopathic doctor, and yes, I said, this is absolutely what I need to do. And this is how I can really impact lives. So I'm, that's, oh my goodness, 15, 18 years ago now. And here I am, 12 years later, with my practice in Ottawa.
Cool.
Yeah.
You talked a bit about having the same message. And, one of the questions that I ask all my guests is actually, what makes you go, what the heck? As in what the heck in your industry, because a lot of the people that I am interviewing are in the more natural approach to health. And sometimes it's mindset and, it's life coaching and so forth. So, and not obviously to be going on the negative side, but what do you think or would love to see more of when it comes to your industry?
Yeah. So one of the things for sure that I'm seeing really with medicine, I can bring in the conventional medicine as well, is, after, a decade and then some with practice, is really this idea of the impact that stress is having on our body. And, yes, we know stress and, whether that's internal or external stresses, we all sort of have this awareness that, yes, it's impacting our body, but we haven't really dove, in my opinion, deep enough into what's going on physiologically, like what is actually happening. It's not, we almost look at it like it's like a choice or it's even an emotion. But the reality is, much like many of our other systems that are out of balance, a lot of the signs and the symptoms that I'm seeing within practice, really they're coming down to this root cause of a maladaptive stress reaction. Our physical body is not able to handle all the stress we're under. And, conventional medicine, yes, for all its strengths, doesn't necessarily recognize this as a concern. So it really has me, in a place within my practice that, I'm really, anything I can get, any information, every patient pretty much I'm seeing, I'm talking to about this adrenal gland and the impact that it could be having, as it's out of balance and as a person is experiencing their symptoms.
Yeah. And I think, we've kind of made stress be, how would I say, not sexy, but almost, right?
We've
In the sense
normalized
of,
it.
oh,
We've
you know,
totally
when,
normalized it.
you know, you see someone, oh, how is it going? You've been busy. Why is it necessary a good thing to be busy? I mean, let's not go that route because we could talk for hours on that. But what I mean by this is that we seem to glorify, that's the word I was looking for, you know, being busy. And then with that, being stressed is kind of, oh yeah, you know, whatever. And that whatever, I think we don't take important. So I'm just going to ask the people that are watching us, you know, what's your relationship with stress? Are you, you know, and type it in the chat your answer. What's your relationship with stress? Do you feel stressed a lot of the time? Do you feel like you've got it under control? Do you feel like maybe you should be paying a little bit more attention to it? Are you experiencing the signs and the symptoms of stress? And, you know, I'm sure you see that a lot, Kristy, that patients will be doing well, and suddenly they have either a bigger physical stressor or psychological stressors, and then things just go down because it's like their adaptative, you know, their physiology is no longer able to adapt. So I guess I'll ask you for a question because about adrenals per se, but walk us through how you work with a patient that comes in, because a lot of people have never gone to see a naturopathic doctor, and how does it differ through, you know, with traditional medicine? And then walk us through somebody, let's say, and if you don't mind, I'll give that persona here. She's 42 years old, 2 kids, busy mom, trying to manage work, not sleeping at night. At 2 o'clock in the morning, she's woken up, good to go. She's starting to even have a little bit of hot flashes, and she's wondering what's going on here. I'm only, you know, 42. I shouldn't have that. So that's pretty typical pattern of adrenals, right? So what do you do with this?
Yeah. So, you know, often, again, you know, people are coming in, and probably the biggest thing that we start with is really affirming some of those symptoms. You know, these patients typically are coming in, and if they're not, I'm going to ask them, you know, to follow up even within my own, you know, abilities for testing. But, you know, we do need to rule out other things, you know, so we do want to say, okay, are these conditions, you know, is this a thyroid? Is there a micronutrient deficiencies? You know, what is going on? You know, have you seen your chiropractor? Have you seen your psychologist? You know, so we really want to work as a team. But certainly, you know, when a patient comes in and they're looking at me most times, I mean, you've basically described my day, but they're looking at me and they're saying, they're in tears. They're like, what's wrong with me? Everyone's telling me I'm fine, but I don't feel fine. And, you know, that's where my compassionate heart comes in to say, yeah, because there is a gland that's out of place. And so basically I listen. You know, I know that sounds a little bit sort of basic, but I really try to make the connections. So as a naturopathic doctor, we connect body systems and try and understand, okay, what of these systems is potentially interacting with another system that is presenting with these symptoms. You know, diagnostically, I will go that next level and look at potential saliva hormone testing, which is something that's really important for adrenal gland health or hormonal health. You know, ruling out other aspects, you know, using conventional testing, physical exams. So specific physical exam we can do to understand. So we assess. So they come in, we listen, or I listen, I assess, and then from there we start to do an individualized treatment. And the individualized treatment is really important, you know, not only from the perspective of, okay, what is the person's, you know, their specific set of symptoms, but also where's their life at? The worst thing you could say to this woman, 42, 2 kids, not sleeping, hot flashes, is basically, or night sweats, is basically, okay, now I want you to do these 55 things. Right? So one of the biggest things I see in practice is the tendency when people come in, you know, the tendency is that they want to do more. And the reality is we need to calm the system. So phase 1 of my naturopathic treatment, when I'm working with adrenal fatigue patients, which is most patients, is to calm the system. Most people are, you know, are in this fight or flight, tired but wired. And so we need to calm the system. And so we do that. I do that, you know, nutrition, definitely lifestyle, some supplementation.
But chiropractic.
Chiropractics, absolutely. Yes, body work. Please, please. One of the things that's so important with, you know, adrenal gland recovery is teaching the body. You brought it up. We've normalized stress. We have also, we've glorified stress. And so when you say to someone, hey, you just need to relax, most people don't even know how to do that. They don't know how to do that behaviorally, but they don't know how to do that physiologically. So we have to retrain the body how to understand and really be and access the relaxation response.
Yeah. I did a segment with a fellow chiropractor on heart rate variability and the balancing through the nervous system and the adjustment of the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. And that's one point that I'm really passionate about, because I cannot tell you in 23 years the results I've seen of balancing that autonomic nervous system through adjustment in the nervous system, and then suddenly everything else with it really falls in place. So
yeah, you're not pumping out all that cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline. You have an ability to calm your own system. And that is the ultimate goal, I think, for both of us, is to provide, our patients with the wisdom, the body wisdom, so that they can go home and they don't need us. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because I always say to patient, the more of the good things you do, the less you need me. The more of the bad things you do, the more you're going to need me. So it's your decision, and it really applies. So okay, so let's dive into some hacks here. So I had you think of, we'll see how many we have time to talk about, but for the people watching, what are the main things, the main hacks that they can do to really make sure that they're nurturing their adrenal glands, and that their cortisol doesn't come out of whack, really, and then experience more issues? So what's your number one?
So my number one is really nutrition. So the background of nutrition. So anyone who's worked with me, I often say I've got nothing sexy when it comes to nutrition. I call it my grade 3 nutrition. But what's really important, especially for these adrenally, or these maladaptive stress patients, is really trying to balance blood sugars. So, what does that actually mean? And, in a simplest term, is trying to ensure that we're not doing this. So if we're already doing this all day long with our stress reaction, we certainly don't want to add nutritional stresses into the system. And so, I really focus on a little bit less about what I'm telling people not to have. And I like the idea of crowding out, right? So let's fill the day with all the good stuff, so that there's not any room for some of that bad stuff, or, we're having that in moderation. So my big kind of take home with that is 2 times of the day. So studies show 2 times of the day, protein in the morning. So, that can be a hard-boiled egg and some avocado. That can be some Greek yogurt and some fruit. But really, that's a beautiful smoothie. Protein in the morning will help us keep our energy stable until about mid-afternoon, and that's when we want to hit the body with another source of protein. So studies show that we keep our blood sugar stable and we keep our energy stable, and then we're not actually gravitating towards all those stimulants that are further going to aggravate our adrenal gland health.
Yeah, that's important. So
sounds basic.
I know. Would you say a good healthy fat in the protein smoothie, like avocado?
Yeah. So anything that's going to really ground that, so I like carbs, so I'm not about not having carbs, certainly the right carbs at the right time, we're using those more whole grain ones, but definitely first thing in the morning, we want to focus protein and fat. That avocado is a great one. The nut butters are a great one. Coconut oil is another great one. So having that protein first thing at that in the morning, same with that mid-afternoon.
Yeah. And I think you're making me think here that we're talking about somebody that's, has adrenal fatigue. So of course we don't want to overstress with the sugar and stabilize the sugar. So again, I'm all about personalized nutrition. So we're talking about stabilizing your sugar and having some of the good carbs for this patient. And exercise is the same way. If the adrenals are fatigued and you tell someone to keep their marathon training, I mean, you're spinning your wheel. So I'm glad that you talked about that, because, with some patient, I like to do more a ketogenic approach, intermittent fasting, but we're talking with people that are already stressed out. So the key is whatever it takes to maintain the blood sugar. So I think it's really crucial. What would be hack number 2?
So again, I often say to my husband, I've gone to school a long time to tell people to eat their greens, but this number 2 is, if is really hydrating. So you have to think your body has been, running from that bear or fighting that bear for sometimes decades. And so, if you were doing that, you would need to stay hydrated. And a little hack with that would be adding some electrolyte to that, whether that's homemade. So you can add, a little bit of 100% juice and some salt. I recommend full on table salt. And we want a little of that iodized because often there's a thyroid connection with adrenal fatigue. You could do that, or you can buy different electrolytes. There's tons out on the market, but I'm a big believer. A lot of adrenally fatigued patients are craving not only the sugar, but the salt.
Salt, yeah.
Salt. And so, you know what? Stay one step ahead of that, because that's a physiological, that's your body asking for something. Yes, the Pringles may be calling your name, but ultimately your body is also asking for that. So you stay one step ahead of that by offering it up. You give it the salt that you know it needs.
Yeah. Do you suggest a Himalayan salt
yes.
often?
Oh, yes, yeah. I love
Perfect.
that. And sea salt everything. I mean, my goodness, it's so tasty. Yeah. But when you're thinking therapeutically, again, these very simple things, you want to, I recommend for all my patients who are recovering from adrenal fatigue, and often you'll see symptom improvement in things like that dizziness, that, that low blood pressure that often accompanies people who are struggling with adrenal fatigue.
Yeah. And being hydrated is again, so cliche. Oh, I know. But if you know, why are you drinking 7 coffees and that's it? Or, you know what I mean? Like no water. So.
Simple is simple, but it's not always easy. And that's why, again, with these adrenally fatigued patients, I'm setting these goals. They're seeing this impact, much like you said, when we're healthy choices influence healthy choices. So we do things like stabilize blood sugar, hydrate, then we're ready for the next thing.
Yeah. So what is the next thing?
So the next thing for me really is about sleep. Again, I think it's so basic, but it's so important for this adrenal recovery. You need to restore, as much as I use supplementation in my practice, ultimately you can't put a pill on restoration and sleep. And so when it comes to sleep, often, that's my first thing. If someone comes in with insomnia or sleep disrupted insomnia, we're working on that first. How do you heal adrenal fatigue if you're not sleeping? So some little hacks around that for sure would be consistency. So again, really making sure you're going to bed and getting up around the same time. Definitely set yourself up for a good sleep. So the studies show that when you have a little protein or fat before bed, I'm certainly using eye masks. We want to block things out, not let any of that light come in and interfere with our melatonin production. And then also sleeping in the nude. So that has been shown to help improve sleep. So those are things for sure that I recommend to help with sleep. And I think that's a really important one.
And again, if we go back, we said sleep, water, eat your greens, and don't stress out. I mean, you think it's like, wow, we haven't reinvented the wheel here, but if people do that, they will see results. So I
can't tell you the number of people that come back and they're like, and again, it's sort of that come full circle. I've been in practice this amount of time, and I realize it's often these simple changes that have a huge impact on people's well-being.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite herb when you get to that point that the person needs to support their adrenal?
That's such a great question, and it's so individualized. I'm really not dodging the question. It is just so individualized. Much like you brought up, and I love that you brought up exercise, is that, it really depends on where the person is. If they are in more of a resistant state, then they are going to need a different type of herb, something but if you're more in an adrenal fatigue state. So it really depends. That's where the individualization comes in to say, okay, this for this type of adrenal picture and another one for another type.
Yeah, because we didn't talk about that, but there's 3 phases of adrenal fatigue. That's right. You're right. Different herbs will definitely.
You can actually aggravate, right? And that's why you want to consult with a healthcare professional, because you can actually aggravate your adrenal fatigue. You give licorice root to a patient who's in an adrenal resistant state, you're going to actually aggravate all of their symptoms.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So we're already, at our time almost. So we can talk about this for a while. So for the people listening, tell us what you have done to control your stress and stay hydrated, because a lot of people that are listening to that would probably like the practical tips. So if you found something that really works for you, kind of a hack, just share it in the comments, because if it works for you, most likely it's going to work for somebody else. So Kristy, before we end the show, I always ask my guests, is there a quote that every time you see, you go, it just grounds you, it empowers you? What do you have a favorite one?
I do. So this is my favorite one, which is, if we listen to our bodies when it whispers, then we don't need to hear it scream. And I think that just really speaks to this idea that we all have this body wisdom inside of us. And, if we can slow things down, if we can go inward, then often our body is giving us the messages we need to stay well.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. I had never heard that one. And I think I'm going to have to do all the quotes that my guests have said, because I think we're going to end up with a pretty powerful quote book.
Got another book idea there.
Another book, yeah, talking about that. So thank you so much, Kristy, for joining in our podcast. Valuable information. Where can people reach you if they want to reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm at drkristylewis.ca. I also have another business as an extension of that, selflovemom.ca. So certainly, the idea that we're all adrenally fatigued, but definitely moms have lots of additional challenges. And, if you check that out, you can also see one of the things that I've been really passionate about is realizing, it's not just talk about it, let's experience it. And so I have been offering these events where moms can, get together, small groups, and we're doing things like, yin yoga, aromatherapy, we're doing acupuncture. And the idea is that collectively we're starting to understand what it feels like again to have that relaxation response within the body. So then we can bring that home.
Yeah, work together so we can empower others. So thank you very much.
Oh,
so
it's my absolute pleasure.
Talking about the book, my book, Hack Your Health Habits, and if you would like the first section of the book, you can text the word hack into the number 1716-203-1356, and you will automatically get the first section of the book. It'll give you a great idea of what the book is all about. So for next week, my next show, I figured that I would focus on one of the sections of the book, which is our toxicity level, and talking about what we can do to decrease our toxic load. So got a lot of stuff to cover next week. I hope that you can tune in, and thank you again for listening in today. My name is Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and this was another episode of the What the Hack podcast. Thank you. I'm Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Hack, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the hack you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. This has been a Wellness on the Go production.